So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcea, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Santosh, CEO of UMM Digital. Welcome, Santosh. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Alex. Thank you so much for the invite and happy to be in the show.
Awesome, and I'm excited to have you on the podcast today also, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience. Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what UMM Digital does?
Right. We are a digital business engineering company. So we are UMM. We are called Unified Modern Minds. That's what UMM stands for, right? And we're headquartered in London, but we have offices there in US, in Atlanta. We're in Toronto, and we are in Shenzhen, and we're also in India, right? And I'm primarily from India, and I started this company about 15 years ago, right? And what we do at UMM is primarily provide technology partnerships for aggressively growing tech companies, right? So that's typically what we do. So we are about a team of 150 plus members, and we are fast growing. And we usually work with startups as well as enterprises on building digital products, right? So we are a full stack, open source oriented company. So what we do is we typically work on projects like conversion of an idea into a full-fledged product and taking it to the market, or in the space of digital transformation, helping large enterprises move out of the legacy systems into newer tech. And in the last 2 years, we've been very heavily focused on AI automation, helping enterprises migrate to the AI, right? However, I also want to mention that there is also a vertical where we also do digital consulting, basically helping companies strategize their digital roadmap, product strategy, GTM strategy, et cetera, and so on. So that's what UMM does, in a nutshell, Alex.
Okay, that's fascinating. And basically, what inspired to create the UMM Digital? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
There was no one specific reason, but rather a cumulative number of reasons. When I started the company, India was at the brink of internet. Internet was just getting popular in India, and smartphones were just getting popular in India. So you could say I was at the right place at the right time with the right team, right? So that's when a lot of companies started building websites. E-commerce was starting up, mobile applications were beginning. So we wanted to be, in that particular space. So we started as an IT services company, but slowly over the years, we completely migrated to becoming a technology partner and helping our clients power their digital businesses. So we work only for fully internet-based companies who are primarily product companies, and we plug in as a technology partner, right? So that's not one single reason. It's basically
Yeah.
a number of reasons, that made us start this.
Okay, I see. And for example, could you share the story of starting UMM Digital straight after the college in 2010?
Right. So that was a fun bit, right? So coming back from India, so we are forced to get into jobs as soon as you finish college, right? So we all have our university loans and other stuff. So as soon as we finish college, the traditional Indian expectation is to try and get into a high-paying job, right? Though I got job offers, but I didn't take that up because I wanted to do something innovative, and I wanted to be free. I wanted to be free of the corporate hustle and stuff, right? So I wanted to sort of live life and work on my own terms. So that's what led me to entrepreneurship. But eventually, I think I took up the most responsible role that I can ever take because in the pursuit of trying to be a little free, but eventually I got myself locked up into the most responsible role, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, right? So we were a bunch of friends building small time websites, doing a bit of coding here and there, doing a bit of designing here and there. So we thought, why not we compile all those skill set
Hmm.
and try and become a full service, tech agency, right? So that's how the whole thing, sort of started, and then we started working with smaller clients initially, and over the period of time, the good work that we deliver to our clients brought in more referrals. So we completely grew word of mouth. So we were we were growing organically. Beyond 2015 and 2016, I started taking the company slowly international. So I slowly expanded to Dubai, Africa, eventually the UK. Not that I succeeded at the first shot. I had to fail a number of times. I failed in Dubai a couple of times. I failed in the US a couple of times before I can establish myself very strongly in those markets, right? So, but every failure made me learn something, and I fixed my mistake, and then we again relaunched. So now, thanks to God, everything is good, and we're scaling up really well. So that's the quick story of how EMM was formed.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. And because you mentioned this, for example, what were the biggest challenges you faced in the early days of the internet boom in India?
Okay, see, now the biggest challenge that I faced was I did not go raise funds like any other startup usually does, right? So I'm still a complete bootstrapped, cash flow positive, EBITDA positive company, built on completely on our own hard work and terms, right? So we haven't raised funds. So capital management was the biggest challenge, right? And making sure that we pay people on time, making sure that clients pay us on time. That was a really major big challenge, which is a cash flow bit, right? So which is something that was very hard for us to solve, and we took a lot of time to basically solve it because of a lack of huge capital to streamline certain things, right? The second major challenge was to put a pretty strong team together, right? And I wanna really mention this. I think I would say it took me almost 10 years to eventually put a great team in place, right? 10 years. I'm not talking about one, or I'm not talking about two, right? Sometimes I had a great team, but there was not a good process. Sometimes the process was there, the team wasn't great. And sometimes when you set the team, they just quit. There was attrition. So it took me almost a good 10 years to eventually put a team in place. So the team is the key to the success, right? Because I'm not selling any product. It's mostly, people's time and energy and talent is what is being sold as money here, right? So considering that, it, the setting up the team was the second biggest challenge that I faced, right? The third uh, challenge, I wouldn't call it as a challenge, but usually marketing, client acquisition, new client acquisition is a challenge.
Yeah.
But I, as a founder and CEO, this is what I tell my sales team as well, or my entire team as well. I believe in nurturing great relationships, and business automatically happens, right? So we don't have a big marketing team. We don't do burn money on Google ads. We don't do money on burn money on LinkedIn ads. Nothing of that sort. We don't do, in fact, outreach at all. But we nurture and develop relationships. We strongly believe in networking, and that is what led to organic burst in terms of project acquisition. So these are the top three challenges I would say, Alex.
Okay, okay, see. So I've noticed in work with digital companies that there are often the gap between what exists and what actually needed. And when you were first exploring this space, what were some those of aha moments where you realized something that is changed?
Right. So that's an interesting question, right? So, okay. So back then when we started, the ignorance towards digital, right? Even by some large enterprises, that's the opportunity that I saw, right? Now, usually the startups are very hungry. They are very tech savvy, but the large enterprises are usually resistant towards digital transformation and moving towards digital and et cetera, right? So that's the space I saw it as an opportunity, right? And that's the space we went after as well, right? Because usually a lot of enterprises they're on either legacy systems, some big softwares and et cetera, and the world was moving more into cloud. So it took some time for them to understand and realize that cloud is the future. This was back in 2016, 17, 18. I'm talking about, right? So that's the space that we saw, right? The ignorance and challenges towards transforming large companies is the space that we wanted to sort of hit it up hard, right? Equally, in the startup segment, the scope that I saw is most startup founders who are not necessarily programmers found it really hard to put a team together to build their product idea to life. So that's the space and that's opportunity I saw in the startup segment, right?
Yeah, right.
So there, what we do is we usually work along with funded companies or funded founders, and we understand their product. We go through a discovery session, and then we plug in as a technology partner to bring the product vision to life. And the journey usually happens for a couple of years, beyond which they either develop the team internally and we hand over the stuff, or we basically work on a build, operate, transform model and empower them. right?
Yeah,
So
right.
these are the two opportunities in the market segment that we saw that is worth pursuing, and that worked for us as well.
Okay, okay. But for example, what inspired you to expand the UMM Digital from India into the Middle East and the West? Because you mentioned this, and I think this is very interesting one.
I think see that's I think that question is a pretty no-brainer because obviously India is a great market, no doubts, but it's extremely competitive, right? And the Western markets obviously pays very well, right? So so obviously the Western market pays very well. At the same time, India has a great talent pool when it comes to tech, right? So that's the bridge that we set off, wanted to bridge here, right? And obviously one of the basic thing that we wanted to achieve was to try and increase our revenue, which if we had stuck back in India would have been a very stressful thing for us to pursue. So that's when we started moving more towards the west. We started off with the UK, and we're doing fairly well there, and now we are expanding heavily into the US markets also in the space of new age tech, AI,
Right.
and those particular space. So primarily, it's a better paying market, and the additional point is I think the West also values great talent, right? So that's also something. I mean, if you look at America, for example, if you look at the UK, for example, great talents are very well valued there, right? So that
Yeah.
gives us a sense of better purpose to basically serve them, right? You get a sense of achievements and etc. So yeah, so that's the reason we wanted to, slowly start moving towards the west, and that it took some time for us, but it worked for us.
Okay, okay, I see. And I have a curiosity by then because I think this is very interesting. So, how do you manage a distributed team with offices in London, Toronto, Atlanta, and India?
Right. So I would say COVID helped, right? Because until COVID hit us, we were having only one office, and the team was operating out of there back in India. So in Chennai, which is from the southern part of India. And what happened back then is we were restricted to only one city, and we had to hire all the talent from within that one city only, right? Now, COVID happened. It opened up the world to the world of remote working, right? And that number one opened my eyes and gave me a sense of feel that I could hire great talents now from anywhere in the world, right? So then what we did is we did a very clear work ethics and work methodology framework within our company that includes workflow pipeline through Microsoft Teams, ClickUps, Notion boards, do's and don'ts, remote working policies, a lot of things, right? So that took us a good 2 years to implement that. And now our team is spread across, right? So we have a team in Atlanta, we have a team in London, we have a team in Toronto, and we all, based on different time zones, we all coordinate using Microsoft Teams. We connect within that. We have a Notion boards and ClickUp. So it's completely digitally governed, and we're using ClickUp. ClickUp has been great in terms of helping us monitor all these tasks, projects, and whatnot. So it gives us very clear analytics and etc. And yeah, so that works for us, and now I'm able to hire a talent pool from across the globe, and we also have a very strict, time adherence policies and etc. etc. And I think above all of these, I think we also need to get the right team with the right ethicalities to come on board, so that who people who are dedicated to working in remote and who really don't, do casual working.
Yeah.
If the hiring is done right with the right team, I think you have a dedicated team, irrespective of whether it's a hybrid work or an in-office work or a remote work. But as a remote work, it worked for us, and I think we will still continue this for a long time to come.
Okay, but for example, what strategies have you used to maintain a consistent culture across your global operations?
Okay, so that's a very very interesting question, right? Because I'll tell you what. Now culture is extremely important for a couple of reasons. One, to ensure that your company has its own signature in terms of the delivery of work. Like, how are you different from others is defined by your culture, right? Secondly, culture is what excites great talent to join us, right? So to enhance the culture, so we bring it into two, right? So we wanna draft the customer experience that we want to deliver to the customers, which is also derived from culture, and we also want to draft a nice employee culture or an employee culture, so that people find this as a happy workplace to be, right? So we had to mix and match both of these to do, right? So to enable this, there is a large documents of how we want to drive all of these, and we have our town hall sessions, our induction sessions, okay, one-to-one sessions with our chief of staff, one-to-one sessions with CEO directly, right? And our training programs across all these places, we tell them what to do, what not to do, how to handle situations, etc., and so on. And this culture get embedded into the workflow over a period of time. So if there is a new
Yeah.
talent coming on board, right? Assume he or she is from any company. The moment they come on board, one moment they get into all these gatherings, meetings, open to documents, and etc. Over 2 to 3 months, they get an understanding. Oh, okay, this is our company's culture, and this is what I'm supposed to do, right? And these are the do's and the don'ts, and etc. And that's how the whole culture gets built. So the more frequent team gets together to have culture as a discussion, right? Which we do during our town hall meetings. That has helped us in terms of deepening the culture across our conversation, across our organization everywhere. Because we have people from America, we have people from working from Middle East, we have people from India, so it's multicultural, multi-ethnicity, and etc. But this whole cultural related meetings and gatherings is what brings us together, right?
Yeah.
And I'm on a mission that my company should be a happy place for people to work, right? Because if not, especially in today's time, with a lot of stress around and etc., if the workplace is not happy, and workplace is where we spend one-third of our lifetime, right? So it has to be a happy place, right? So that's
Yeah,
that's
right.
how that's what we have evolved as.
Yeah, that's fascinating about it. And now walk us through how UMM Digital addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
Uh, okay, so though we are an engineering firm, we're talking about product engineering, software engineering, right? What makes us unique is our subject matter expertise and our design thinking and architectural capabilities. Let me explain that, right? So if someone wants to build a product, or if someone is on a legacy tech and they want to migrate to a new product, or someone wants to, let's say, do an AI automation across their company or whatever, right? So rather than jumping into as an engineering partner, what we do is first take the problem statement first, right? And our consultants, our analysts, and our design thinkers, they jump on board to first break down the business problem and to architect the problem as a solution first, right?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
once the solution is architected, then we add design thinking to it to ensure that we visualize the entire problem solved as a product or as a solution. So before we hit into the development, before my guys start to code, the finished product is sort of ready as a design, as an architecture, as a documentation, and etc. So that gives a very clear clarity for a company or a startup to put additional energy or efforts into the engineering bit, right? Now that's our biggest USP, because unlike most companies who rush towards getting into engineering, we want to make the homework right, which is the so we call it as a discovery phase, right? So if the discovery phase is done right, then your engineering management timeline pretty much stays intact. Now, if the discovery phase is weak, then your so-called engineering project timeline will offshoot heavily. You might have planned for a 3 months of development, but eventually you could have burnt a 7 months of development, which means you would have burnt double the cost on what you're building because your base was not right. You did not discover or you did not architect it right. Right now, that architectural space is a USP when comparing with other companies, and that's exactly why clients prefer us, because nobody wants just developers to come and work on the project, right? They want solution partners to give them solution to their problems. So that's
Yeah.
that's our USP here.
Okay, I see. And for example, why is UMM Digital primarily an open source company?
I think see okay, it's an interesting question again. I think the whole world is moving open source, with all due respect, right? So I think the whole world is moving open source because I think the era of large licenses, I'm not naming companies, but the big boys here, they come in, they throw large licenses, they take millions in terms of license fee and etc. And even in development, they're too rigid to do and work with and stuff. I think a lot of companies have opened up towards moving open source, and I think open source as a community has also grown pretty well. If you look at Python, for example, if you look at Node.js, for example, PHP, for example, they all have excellent community support in terms of open source here, right? And I think considering the fact that most of the great companies are driving on open source, and we chose we had to be an open source specific company rather than going through a license-based implementation, because then we only get stuck only to those ecosystem. Now we have a
Yeah.
wide range of tech stack to play with, right? So we whenever a client comes to us, we give them a clear pro cons on what tech stack to use, what's the advantage, disadvantage, cost implication, resource implications, security implications, infra implications, and etc. etc. No, like why would you choose a Ruby? Why would you choose a Ruby on Rails over a Python? Why would you choose a Node.js over a PHP? These are certain educatory, informative advice or consulting that we give to our clients and let them do informed decisions, right?
Yeah,
So
makes
so
sense.
open source has really worked for us in that particular.
Yeah, I see now. And I often find that innovative solutions face the initial skepticism. So, what's the most common reaction you get when explaining UMM Digital to potential clients for the first time? Basically, when you talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
Okay, interesting question. Okay, right. Okay, so some or most of the times we get perceived as a product company sometimes, right? But we are technically not a product company. We're only helping them build the product, right? So if you ask me, am I a product company? Yeah, the answer will be no. Am I a services company? The answer is a no as well. The answer is we are a solutions company, right? Because, let's look at the industry verticals that we work with. We are very strong in fintech. We're very strong in fintech. We're very strong in insurance, remittance, banking, neobanking, the entire fintech gamut.
Yeah,
And we are very strong in AI. We are very strong in e-commerce. We are very strong in supply chain manufacturing and et cetera, et cetera. So usually when we try and talk the language of the product language to the customers, we sometimes get perceived as a product company, which we are not. And suddenly, when we say we are not a product company, the mind shifts to, hey, are you a services company, right? But there is a sweet spot in the middle. There's something called as a solutions company.
right.
So wherein having been existing in the market for the last 15 years, we have some homegrown solutions, templates, program-based codes, etc., that we have built over the period of time. We have it ready for faster deployment. And at the same time, since we have worked with some of the industries that I mentioned, we have a very good subject matter knowledge on it, right? So unlike a services company, we will not ask you for the subject matter knowledge, and we don't want to build from scratch. It's going to take a lot of time. At the same time, we are not a ready plug and play SaaS company or product company, right? Now, most of the times, to answer your questions, we get perceived as either of these. No, we're not both of these. We are a solutions company, and we primarily try and understand your business problem and architect a solution and power it with tech. That's that's a very sweet spot here, right? So let's say I'll give you a use case, for example. So we work with an edtech company, a kids educational platform company called Play Pixo. It's called Pixo. It's from the US, and so what we do there is the founder wants to give a customized learning experience for kids, like the way a kid learns, right? So each kid will have their unique customized learning pattern. So no
Yeah,
two kids will have the same pattern here, right? So that was
yeah,
a problem statement, right? So there we architected a solution and we're building a solution for them, right? So we didn't act like a service company and say, hey, what do you want to build? Or we're not a product company, we did not sell any product, but we understood the problem, architected a solution, presented it to them, and they felt that it was in sync with what they were envisioning, and now we're building the tech for them, right?
yeah.
So that's where we are solutions to clients and solutions to the problems of clients rather than a ready product or a ready, a service-based company. So that's the common misconception that people have on EMF,
Yeah, I see.
which we are actually trying to solve this year with the new rebranding that's happening for us.
Okay, interesting. And for example, could you share a specific success story of a client who saw significant results using your solution?
Yeah, so I want to mention this startup called Kwetu. It's Qwetu. Kwetu is from Kenya, and they are the number one leading student accommodation platform in Kenya, right? The closest reference could be like they are the Airbnb for students in Kenya, right? Now, we started working for them in 2017 as a small prototype when they were starting up, but today valued at over $300 million, and we are the technology partner that built the solution for the last years, with their team here. That's one of the very big success stories, and they are a very well-known brand in East Africa, right? Like everybody knows Kwetu. If you go to Kenya, you can see big hoardings about Kwetu and etc. And be the technology partners for them, right? Now, the founders come from a real estate background of property acquisitions and etc. They did not have a technology background. They had asset management background. So they didn't. They were very clear that they did not want to build internal technology capabilities because they want to focus on what their core is, which is assets, right? So we were chosen as a technology partner. So what started as a very small engagement became a very large technology contract for us, and we've been working with them for a good 7 years right now, and they're valued at about 300 or 400 million dollars roughly. They've been funded by Aecon Holdings Group and Juven. Juven is the Goldman Sachs East African division. They have invested in Kwetu as well, and we're still a technology partner. That's one of the very good success story that I can mention. So we build their entire solutions. We build their mobile app. We build their AI. We build their dashboards. We build their backend software, the supply chain software, everything pretty much from scratch. So 80% of tech is come done by us. Only 20% is done in-house by them, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's the sort of that's one of the success stories that I want to flag here.
Okay, interesting one. And now, looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
I think all of us will agree that AI is going to shake up a lot of things, right? I'm not saying negative, I'm not saying positive, but AI is definitely going to shake up a lot of things. Okay. Yes, we could say, a lot of jobs might get cut, a lot of, things will happen and etc. But at the same time, let's not forget the fact that there are also newer opportunities that are arising right now, you know. So during this wave, most of the traditional non-innovative software companies might go out of business. I don't disagree. But at the same time, there will be a new breed of companies that's coming up into the market, that will be coming up into the market, right? So that's the change that I'm looking forward to. And companies that embrace AI are definitely going to have a very good edge when compared to the competitors who don't embrace AI, right? So considering that, and at the same time, we will find more new startups coming into the market because with the advent of AI, development times are drastically reduced. What used to take 4 5 days of programming by a developer right now is being done in half an hour by platforms like Lovable, for example, right?
Yeah,
So with all those advent, a lot of new products and new startups will come into the market, and it's going to build a new market of startups for for interactions and etc., right? So instead of looking at AI as a threat, we should try and look at what opportunities can AI provide for us to try and see how we can benefit out of it.
yeah, exactly. And I having worked with numerous businesses in the space, and I've noticed some common pitfalls. And for example, what mistakes do you see companies making when trying to tackle these challenges?
I think okay, number one, I think they take these very light, right? They want to start working on it only when it starts hitting you, right? Like even with so much of AI speed that's happening, I still know companies are not serious about AI yet, right? But all of those companies will wake up maybe 1 or 2 years down the lane when their competitors have already gone ahead of them, right? So that's said and done. That's one common mistake that I see companies doing. And secondly, doing very okay. Let me put it this way: the second problem is basically company not getting to the depth of it, right? Now, what I mean by that is they're just trying to be surface level companies than to be an expert in one, right?
Okay.
So instead of trying to be 200 things, you can try and do 5 things that you're an expert at, right? So that's a common mistake that I see a lot of companies doing. They want to do this as well, they want to do that as well, they want to do this as well, and etc. But eventually, nothing gets done properly, right? I'm not saying companies should not do multiple things, but as long as you're able to build a very capable team to do that, then it's fine. If not, then it's going to be a problem here,
Yeah, makes
right?
sense.
And the last point is again, when it comes to again management. A lot of companies need to constantly update, the company culture, and the company also need to update, have a very clear innovation plan on how they're going to innovate the way that they give services to the customers. Right now, again, that's an area that's very underplayed by a lot of companies because of which a lot of companies fail. So these are three things I think that some of the companies are have to be conscious about to ensure that they succeed in this highly competitive market.
Okay, okay, I see. And in your opinion, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs looking to build a transformative solution?
The time is now. Jump into it. That's the only advice, right? The time is now. Jump into it. I think with AI, I don't think entrepreneurs can continue to cry about lack of capital to start business. Now, 3 years back or 4 years back, an entrepreneur could call me, for example, and say, "Hey, I have a great idea, but I don't have capital." And I can ask him, "Why do you need a capital? Why do you need some capital?" Right? He might say, "I need to hire a team to build my product, so I need capital." But now, with the advent of AI, you don't really need capital to build a MVP. You can prompt your product out, right?
Exactly.
Prompt your product out, take it to investors, then you raise capital and etc. So the one piece of advice to entrepreneurs is I don't think you can give any more reasons of why you should not start now, right? So just get going, start. The time is now because in another couple of years it will become more competitive and a lot of opportunities that's open currently now will be closed. So just get going with it and yeah, just start building whatever you're building. Simple.
Okay, okay, great advice though. And before we wrap up, I'm curious about what's on the horizon. So, when you look at UMM Digital journey over the next few years, what possibilities excite you the most?
Right. So that's an interesting question here, right? So we are now being backed up, but by some of large private equity partners, right? So though now we are in the pursuit of acquiring AI products and AI companies and other small tech companies to enhance our capabilities. And at the same time, we are going really aggressive in the Western markets to push our products and services in, right? Like, for example, we are now launching a partnership with a company called Voice Owl, which is an agentic AI product, which can efficiently bring down a 1,000 member call center to only 100 members, right? So that's what the product is capable of. So we are now partnering with the product to launch it into the market and etc. So UMM over the next couple of years will continue to partner or acquire or invest in related technology or product companies, and that will be added to the UMM portfolio, and we're going to push it to our enterprise clients to ensure that they leverage those products and etc. Right? So
Okay.
so that's the major thing that we're going to do, and especially with our rebranding happening over this year we are having more focus on AI and automation because how much ever AI is there is only a tool. You still need engineers to come and deploy it for a large enterprises. So that space is hot for the next 4 5 years, and that's the space that we're going to try and eat maximum in the next 4 to 5 years, if I could say that. So that's a major vision.
Okay, interesting, interesting one. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with UMM Digital, what's the best way to get in touch?
I think LinkedIn, I think it's the best way, right? And probably I'm on most social media, right? I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, or Twitter. On my email ID is there. My email ID is Santosh Santhosh @ umm.digital. So you can even write an email to me, and I'll make sure that I read your emails right back to you, and I know happy to connect if that's a good opportunity of working or collaborating together.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for this, and thank you for sharing those insights about you, about the company, and about the whole story. And thank you for this amazing podcast session.
Absolutely. Much. I think, Alex, you're doing a great work in terms of, voicing out great minds and etc. Keep doing the great work and all the very best. And thanks a lot for this opportunity, Alex.
Thank you very much, and see you in the next episode.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bye.